your physical identity. You perceive yourself a certain way, and your culture perceives you a certain way, and you enter into a new culture and they perceive you in a different way. And that's quite challenging. You know, all the times that people said, oh, you've gained weight today, oh, you lost weight today, and my nose. I've got a high nose, is what they would say in China, and I think in America we just call it a big nose. It was a struggle because I was always very self-conscious about it, and yet in China it's often pointed out, and that made me more self-conscious. But they meant to point it out in a good way, right? But it just made me self-conscious because there was, oh, you've got a high nose, you've got a high nose. And I just would go, yes, I know, I have a big nose, you know. And even when I was pregnant, because Western women don't gain pregnancy weight the same way Asian women do, there was often discussions in Chinese that I could understand that were like, is she fat or is she pregnant? Has she just gained a lot of weight or is she pregnant? You know, just whispered conversations. And oh, it's hard enough being pregnant and being huge. I was, as part of my member care position, before new staff would come, if they needed furniture, I would go out with one of the Chinese staff members and we would pick furniture for the new staff. And so it's this huge furniture warehouse. And we went and we're walking in the warehouse, and everywhere we go, it's like this whisper wave. You could hear this. And they were just saying over and over and over and over again, is she fat or is she pregnant? Is she fat or is she pregnant? You know. And I knew what they were saying, but I'd heard it so often that it just didn't bother me anymore. It was my second pregnancy in China. I knew what to expect. I knew or felt that they didn't mean any harm. I was different, and you didn't see that many foreign women pregnant in Xinjiang at that time. And anyway, my Chinese friend, though, after about a half an hour, she started to get quite annoyed. And she turns to me and she says, "You speak Chinese?" And I said, "Well, yeah." And she goes, "You understand what they're saying?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "It doesn't bother you?" And I said, "Nah." Like I said, I hear it everywhere I go. It's not a big deal. You just let it go. It doesn't matter. And she goes, "No, it's not okay. They shouldn't be saying this." And I said, it's fine. It's fine. And she got so annoyed. In about, I think 10 minutes after that, she whirls around in the middle of this huge warehouse and she yells at the top of her voice, "She's not fat, she's pregnant!" It killed me. I thought it was hilarious, but it did also make me feel better because I thought, okay, it's not just me. It is hard sometimes to deal with those things, and really God helped me through to see that it just didn't matter. I am physically who I am, and I appreciate my body and the features that I've got, and I'm happy in my body, but how other people perceive my body is not important to my identity. Yeah. So if you think I'm attractive, that's fantastic. If you think I'm ugly, that's okay. It doesn't matter. These things don't matter. What matters is how I perceive my body and live in my body. And yeah. But I think that's always a struggle cross-culturally, because every time a person enters into a new culture, they perceive you differently. You know, for me going to Asia, I went from being short all the time to being pretty average. But I think for Asians moving into Australia, one of the difficulties is that it's hard to find clothes because Asians tend to be quite small, and it's hard to find clothing that size, and people are always talking about how tiny you are, and so it's kind of the opposite. So yeah. My children, when you ask them, where are you from? They always say they're born in China first. You know, for us as a family, I think China is home because my husband and I married there and our children were born there. And the best friends that we've ever had were there. And yeah, it's very ingrained in us, I suppose. The way of thinking, the way of looking at things. Yeah, it's really weird because I think Darren's Australian and my kids are Australian and American and culturally a little bit Chinese, and I'm a little bit Chinese and American. And coming here was very weird because we always say as a family we're coming back. But for me and the boys, really, it was coming too. It was a whole new thing. This is not our culture. And even the English is not my English. You know, me and the international students here at Sheridan College have a really good time together because we often joke around about how we're speaking English and Australians are speaking English, but we're not speaking the same English. We're like, I'm sure we're speaking the same language, but I don't understand you. So there is that. A lot of times it's I think when the first 6 months when we came here, I felt like I was coming back. I'm coming back to a Western culture, so I'm coming back home, and I would often describe it that way. And after the first 6 months, I realized, no, I'm actually moving into a new culture. I have immigrated to a new country with a new culture and a new language and new customs. And it has been difficult sometimes, easier because I have Darren. And he helps us all and he answers our questions. But at times really hard because I don't understand sometimes where people are coming from or why things are done that way. Why somebody might get offended at something I've said I don't actually understand, so I have to then think about it and ask people. Yeah, the kids actually, as being really naturally a third Australian, I suppose I'd say, and culturally a third American and a third Chinese, maybe a little bit more Chinese, they adapted really well. We focused on them a lot in the first 2 years, so lots of play dates, lots of investment in their social acclimation, and getting used to things here. And so they went great guns. And we realized about a year of the way in, I think Darren and I were sitting on the couch and the kids were in bed and we kind of turned to each other and I said, "How are you doing?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I went, "I feel like we really focused on the kids and we forgot to actually make sure that we did okay." And he goes, "Yeah." And so that's when we started to try and focus a little bit more on settling in ourselves. And I haven't met a cross-cultural worker who says that they wish they had never gone. Everybody gets something out of it. It's just amazing. And it was time for Darren and I to come to Australia and to do what we're doing, but I still work cross-culturally with international students, and that is the part of my job that is the most rewarding. I love it. I love working with international students. The humor, the understanding of shared experiences, and the opportunity to help somebody else who's going through what I've been through before. But the people I know who've been in cross-cultural work, they love it. They love every aspect of what they're doing. There are difficult times, but I think that we would all say that they are totally worth it. And anywhere you go in life, whether you're here in Australia, in America, Canada, or Africa, there will be difficult times. And a lot of it has to do with our own faith and maturity and character, and the process of refinement. and you're just going to have to go through those. I don't regret any of the difficult times because I really feel like they shaped me and they've made me into the person that I am, and hopefully I'm still being shaped and growing, but I really appreciate the person I am, and not in a prideful way, just I'm comfortable in my own skin for probably the first time in my life, and that was a result of my time in China. So, yeah.